How do I overcome procrastination? How do I maintain focus? Well, here's how not to overcome procrastination. You have tried looking up some topics, some yummy topics on YouTube that suggest to you 10 million ways of staying focused, 10 million routines to follow in the morning, right? You know what I'm talking about? That ends up being a waste of time. So here's how not to overcome procrastination. Here's how not to change your life. The number one way you guarantee failure in life is about this realization. Most people fail to change in their life because they're looking to change their problem without understanding why they're in that problem in the first place. And that's important because if you now want to actually overcome this problem, you got to know clearly why you're in that problem. But most of us do not do this. Most of us who procrastinate, we just look up things like, how do I overcome it? And maybe somebody suggests go on a social media detox, right? Which is wise, but here's what ends up happening. You know how true this really is. If you do not resolve the root cause, you will end up wasting that time you've been wasting on social media with another irrelevant task. It will happen 100% guaranteed. Are you getting this? So if you do not resolve one root cause, that root cause will perpetuate in other areas of your life. You will think you've overcome the problem. You will think you've actually overcome and healed, but actually it's a false healing. It's a false solution. It's a false illusion of change. How many of you are getting this? Procrastination right now as it stands is your greatest tool for clarity because procrastination is showing you where your greatest unconscious blocks are. Because think about procrastination, how freaky it really is. By the way, we all procrastinate in here. We all do. And it is important. You know, Energizer Bunny was asking me a couple of weeks ago, very wise question. He said, Tim, can you ever get to a point where you no longer procrastinate? And I said, yeah, if you're dying. Because if right now, here's the fact, right now, you are procrastinating on things that honors your highest potential. The reason why you delay is because it can honor you. But the moment you begin to overcome that, which you will, what you once found hard will become easy. True, true. But once you've now life become easy, we don't stop there. We now set a new goal, the new vision. Are you getting this? So that way we are busy growing, not busy dying. How many of you are getting this? And chances are if you set a new big vision, you're going to start procrastinating again. That's not a bad thing. That's proof you're actually alive. Yes? But think about how freaky procrastination is. How many of you notice you know what to do, but you're not doing what you know? Just wrap your head around that. And how true is that? You know what to do, but you aren't doing what you know. So that clearly shows you as an unconscious block. Because consciously you know what to do, but the unconscious is like, nope. So consciously you're like acceleration. Unconscious is like brake. Getting this? And this is why if you want to overcome procrastination for real, otherwise the cost is you begin to lose more hours of your life you'll never ever get back. This is why it's important. Anytime the mind's like, oh, I don't want to do this. You don't focus on the ROI, the return on investment. What you focus on is the COI. And what is COI? The COI gets you into action. You ask yourself, what's the cost of inaction? What's the cost of you doing nothing? What's the cost of you delaying this right now? What's the cost of you not getting started today? What's the cost of you 10 years from now? When all is said and done, you have said more than you've actually done. 10 years from now, those dreams is faded. Relationships is even worse. Career is barely existing. What's the cost then? Because one could say, if you don't do this now, tomorrow is not going to be easier. Tomorrow will be harder. You see, the reason why we often delay is we believe not doing anything is safe. How many of you notice how true that really is? So we've got this belief that delay is an unconscious belief, is safe. But the fact is, think about this logically as an intelligent people that we are. The fact is, this does not account for life itself. Because just because you delay and just because you do not make a indecision, in this game called life where every minute is ticking away, Indecision, therefore, is still a decision. Inaction is still a form of action. True or true? So that means if you do nothing, it is not safe. How do you know that to be true? Because this game called life is a one big risk. I'll tell you how risky life is. Nobody makes it out alive. So that means every time you delay, you're taking a massive risk. Risking regret. Risking that the situation will get worse. Risking that it's going to be way harder later. Chances are you're not going to do it later, therefore. So in a lot of ways, every time you delay, you pay. You're paying. You see, most people will talk about death as if it's a one-time occurrence, but that's not how death works. Death is an every moment occurrence because every time you delay, you're decaying. Every time you delay, you decay. Every time you delay, you decay. Now, this is from a science perspective. Scientists have clearly shown every time you avoid a task, every time you avoid something you're wanting to do, it grinds down your very telomeres, DNA, meaning every time you delay, you decay. Literally, you kill yourself on a biological level. And this is why, how many of you notice, anytime you say, I'm going to start this dream next year, it's really hard next year. Really hard. And that's because you've spent the whole year killing yourself on a biological level. How many of you getting this? So that means doing nothing, delay, is risky, is a very big risk because you're killing yourself. Death isn't a one-time occurrence. It's an every moment occurrence. Right now, you're either living or busy dying. Either you're growing or dying. Either you're existing or you're growing. Are you getting this? That's a choice. Yeah? We can choose. What do we want to do? You know, in the end, how many of you agree? If we think about it, if you do nothing, the chances of success is 0. True or true? But if you do something, chances of success or failure is 50%. Yes or no? So in the end, you've got a choice to make. You can either try it and risk that you might fail by the way, or risk that you might actually succeed, or not try and thereby guarantee you'll fail. The choice is always ours. When you agree, in the end, what is really worse? Never trying or failing? Really?